Okay, now let's talk about the third scenario, which is calling the parameterized constructor of the parent class. How this is going to happen? If I go over here and in the base class, I provide like some string, like this would be name. Okay, now you have provided a copy of base class constructor, which actually is taking a parameter. If you try to create the object of, let me remove this, object of derived class, now it will throw an error. What is the error? That not matching function for call to base class constructor, because we have provided the parameterized constructor over here, but when we are initializing the object of our derived class, which actually calls to create the object of our base class, we do not calling actually this constructor. We are trying to call some other constructor which we have do not have provided over here. So how you're going to call this? What you're going to do, you will be creating a matching constructor just like the base class constructor. How? Just provide the same number of parameters. Okay, go into your derived class constructor, put the colon over here, now call the base class. Okay, and here just put the name of the variable you have provided over here. So, and when you call it, you should also provide the parameters. You should also provide the value over here, as we're taking a string value over here. Okay, so I'm going to name it like something parent. Now if I go over here and call this name variable, and let me call this, and if I run it, you would see that the parents class constructor is called, which we the value which we provided the parent over here is passed on to this. How this passed? We send it to object of derived class, it goes over here, and here from here we have passed it to base class constructor, and in base class it came over here, and then we have passed this name to this statement. So what if I provide two string over here, like next would be like number, and if I'm going to provide the number over here, then I should provide it over here as well. And if I try to run it, it will be perfectly fine, it will run it, because we are matching the constructor or our base class, and at the same time we are matching the constructor of our child class. So what you have learned out of it, that every time you are going to create the object of child class with the object you want to initialize a parameterized constructor of the base class, then you have to provide the definition for the base class constructor into child class as well. Now let's talk about another scenario. If there are two classes, like this would be base 2, okay, and this is have some kind of constructor like base 2, and it is also taking some parameter like string as c or and l s, whatever you can have, whatever you want to have, and we are inheriting this class as well, and this is base 2. Okay, over if I come over here and try to run it, it will not run, because we have inherited two class, we have provided a definition of our base class constructor, but what about the base 2 class constructor? We have not provided a definition of this constructor inside our derived class. So to provide the definition, you just have to put the colon, call the name of class, and just provide the definition of this over here as well. So I can use s over here as well, or I can simply use another variable like base value, whatever you want to have. You can use s value or base value, it totally depends upon your requirements, and here I will be using the base value. Okay, now I have to, as I have provided the three parameter over here, I have to provide the another parameter. This is like base 2 class. Now if I try to run it, it will perfectly run. Okay, as you can see, this is parent class constructor, which actually called when this we created this object, and this is base 2 class, which will actually run when we created the constructor of this class, and later this line of code run at the end when we created this object. Okay, so what you have learned from out of it, that first when we create the object of child class, the first object will be created of the first parent class, then the object of second parent class will be created, and in the last we create the object of our child class. And at the same time, you have learned that if inheriting some base classes into our child classes, and inside the base classes, our parent classes, we have provided our own copies of constructors, our user defined constructors, then you have to provide or initialize those constructor into child class with the same number of parameter as well. Okay.